This is Maya from the Worldwide Good News, and I have Joe Fingerhut, the Joe of all trades. How you doing, Joe?
I could not be better right now. How are you, Maya?
Great, I'm awesome. Joe of all trades, what do you do?
The path that I'm on right now includes speaking. That's like the main focus, the main passion. Youth speaking. I want to speak to high school kids, college kids, junior high school kids on empowerment and following their dreams. That's the passion pursuit, and that's what's currently in progress. What is paying the bills consistently is actually another couple of passionate pursuits. I'm a DJ, and I'm a DJ for a national company called Complete Music, and I DJ weddings and bar mitzvahs, proms, anniversaries, pool parties, anything you can think of. And I also am a magician. I'm a juggler, a unicycler. I have stilts that I jump around on and have a lot of fun with. And basically, any opportunity that comes along involving speaking, helping, serving, entertaining, I'm all ears to.
That's so awesome. And how did you get on this path? Because this is not your normal path. This is not your went to university and decided I want to be a magician.
Right. Well, I have always had kind of an appetite for learning and expanding my horizons and everything. And I have 3 siblings. I was the only one that didn't go to... I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, in the middle of America here. And I was the only one of the 4 of us to not go to school at St. Louis University. I went to Loyola University, Chicago. Not necessarily for the school, but just to expand my experience. And Chicago is a big city, and I wanted to experience that. So I did that, and had a lot of great experiences there. And then I got to the end of school, and I graduated, and I kind of promised myself that I would not go back to school unless I felt passionate about something, and that I would really try and pursue jobs that would make me happy as opposed to just trying to pursue a paycheck and stuff. So I started traveling after college. I got to the end of school, and I realized I had never been outside of America. And we'd had this campus in Rome where a lot of my friends had went, and they did the study abroad program at our campus in Rome, but I did not do that. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've missed out on an opportunity there. Because once you graduate college, you got to get a job, you got to get bills, you got to build a life, and I thought I might have, like I said, missed out on an opportunity. So I got it in my mind that I wanted to travel to Europe and study in Europe and take an extra semester and take on the extra student debt and everything and study at our campus in Rome. So I sat down with my dad. I was like, Dad, this is what I'm going to do. It's my dream. And he's like, no, you're not. And I just was like, what are we talking about? And I quickly learned, I mean, you kind of see when you're growing up and you're teenagers, parents don't always like pat you on the back, you can do whatever you want. A lot of times they're just cautious and stuff. So I was like, all right, well, if I can't study in Europe, I'm going to go to Europe and not study. So I bought a backpack and a plane ticket, and I'd read this book on how to backpack, like stay in hostels and take trains and stuff like that. And so 2.5 months in Europe totally changed my life. I saw about 12 countries. I arrived in Paris at 9:30 a.m. on a Friday morning. I didn't know French. I didn't know anybody in the city. I didn't have a place to stay. The only thing I knew was that I had to be back in Paris in 2.5 months. And that 2.5 months just totally blew my mind wide open. I went all around Europe. I saw a bit of Africa, and I came back. And basically that really taught me, you know, if you have a dream, stick with it. Just go for it. And at all costs, because this is my life, it's not anybody else's, and these are my opportunities. So how I got into everything I'm doing now, a friend of mine said you should study or you should teach English in Asia. And I was like, what? Really? How can I do that? Because that's one other thing I've learned is if you just say I can't, whether it's anything, you know, you're just gonna cripple your success. You gotta ask, how can I? Big on research, you know. I was like, okay, well, how can I do that? She said, well, my friend just got back from studying in Hong Kong, and she said if you could speak English and you got a college degree, you can get a job over there. It sounds like a lot of fun. You can travel. So I immediately looked into that. And I checked out a couple different countries, but I found this great program in Japan called the JET program, Japanese Exchange and Teaching Program. It's a government program, and it's not even like, you know, you got to teach our kids nouns and verbs and adjectives. Japan is an island nation, so they just want their kids and their students to be exposed to a different culture. So they hire about 6,000 foreigners from English-speaking countries, not only America, but Canada and England and Australia, Scotland, New Zealand, just everywhere. And I applied, and I got accepted to that. And so about a year or so after I embarked on the Europe adventure, here I was on a plane to a country where I didn't speak the language, had no clue, and I didn't know anybody. Now, they provided some direction in terms of this is where you're going to go for a conference, and then host family, and then get started in your job and stuff, but it's a whole new world, and it was kind of like that opening scene I always think about in Jurassic Park, when the helicopters are coming down to like tropical rainforest, and all you see is green, and you just don't know what's out there, and I was thinking about that when we landed, and it was such a welcoming experience. The people there, they really, the whole community, the schools that I taught at, they were very welcoming, and they wanted to know everything about me and my country and my experiences. And so I ended up spending 3 years there. I didn't study the language in the first year because I didn't know how long I was going to stay, and I was like, I don't want homework, I don't want stress, but you pick up, as you probably know, so much of a language when you're living in the country. So at the end of that first year, I had a good foundation, but I knew I needed to hone it, so I started studying, and I got better at the language. And then I met my wife, who we started dating, and her English was excellent, so that helped. If she hadn't were able to speak English at the beginning, we wouldn't have had a relationship. But towards the end of that time, I knew that we wanted to continue life together. So we got engaged and we got married, and then it led to planning. We had 2 wedding receptions, or wedding days actually, which was great. We had one in Japan where we were in kimonos. I always tell people I was straight up had the Tom Cruise Last Samurai kimono for this wedding day. And then we also planned the American wedding day as well. So it was a wild ride, and I'm very appreciative of the fact that having this relationship with my wife, I have to have a connection with Japan for the rest of my life. And I'm so excited about that. Logistics aren't always going to be easy. It's a long flight. It's not cheap, but the experience is going to be worth it, and we get to share that with our kids and have them, you know, internationalize from the start, and it's very exciting. Okay, what can I do next? And I got married, and we had a reception, and it was a great party, and the DJ was awesome, and I was like, that's the next thing. So I asked him, how can I do this? And a month later, he was training me, and I started DJing, and it was so much fun. And a couple months later, I realized, well, I got to do something during the week. So I saw this ad in the paper, and it said, after school magic instructor wanted, 1 to 4 hours a week, we teach you the tricks. And I was like, that's the job for me, because I learned to juggle when I was 14 in high school in a theater class freshman year, and I was pretty good at juggling because I stuck with it. I was like, I'm going to get this, and I'm going to master it, and I did. But I'd never done magic and stuff. I'd always been fascinated with it, so I applied for this job. It's a small business in St. Louis, and we do after-school classes and summer camps. And very quickly, I was like, this is what I want to do here. And so I became our main performer, and we do shows for schools and parks and recs and preschools and just about everything. And I became one of our main performers. And then everything just started to cross over. I integrated juggling into that. While I was in Japan, I taught myself how to ride a unicycle, so I kind of do that. Learned a lot of magic. And then I started doing stuff like that during my DJ gigs, when I'm walking around and just messing with kids and people and stuff. And it all came together. And then a couple of years into that, I just realized, okay, this is all good, but is it really what I want to do? And the idea of speaking has been in my mind for a long time. So over the last year and a half, I've become more focused and committed to that.
You have a sense of like bliss and joy about everything you do. And it's more about, it seems like you never said, oh my God, what am I going to do? Oh, I need to get a job. Oh my God. It's more, what's next for me? And then the universe just says, well, how about this? And you say, sure, let's do it. And then now you're moving into speaking, which is basically taking everything you learned and giving it away, giving it to either the next generation, or if you speak to adults as well. And what do you focus on? What is your focus on in your speaking now?
The speaking is focus on your dreams. I came up with kind of a message. I took the word dream and just thought about what is the process of following your passions. So dream is a 5-letter word, so I just came up with 5 tasks. D is define your vision. And I talk about how everything starts in your mind. I mean, you've got to focus on something. If you don't have a goal, you're not going to hit anything. So define your vision. And then research what's needed. And the great thing about research is, and really defining a goal, all that is free. It doesn't cost any money to come up, to think about what you want to do. And then to research what you want to do, especially with the resource that we have, which is the internet, which is the greatest thing ever in human history of researching and learning. I mean, you can learn about anything. So I talk about that, research what's needed. And then E is envision the outcome, or envision your success. Because you really got to think about how you want everything to look at the end process, at the end result. And then the A is for affirm your intentions. So once you share your goals, you can't just keep it like in your heart. You got to tell people what you wanted to do, what you want to do. And from personal experience, I found, once you're committed to something, everybody wants to contribute. Hey, have you thought about this? Have you talked to this person? Have you done this? And then the M, you can't just sit around and wish. You got to make it happen. So that's really the message. That's kind of the culmination of everything. And each one of those steps, I kind of illustrate with the experiences of how that's worked out for me. And then, if appropriate, and if there's time, sometimes I'll throw in other examples of other people.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's very focused, and like it helps people to kind of see how to actually get on track, create a plan for themselves. And you said you speak mostly to teenagers, to high school children, or you also speak to adults?
At this point, the focus is youth, and youth, pretty much teenagers, so anywhere from junior high school to college. I'd really prefer like high school and college kids, because junior high school kids, they're fun and I love them. But high school kids have that extra level of world awareness, and the rest of their lives is a little bit closer to them. These visions and perspectives that I was getting in Europe, as like, nobody ever told me I could do this before. Like, how come nobody ever said you can buy a plane ticket and you can go to a different country and you can survive? You're not gonna you're not gonna meet disaster and all this stuff that you read about in your history books. You can actually go and see and experience. And I just kept being hit with this thought. Nobody ever told me I could do this. So that's what I wanted to do. I want to be the person telling these kids, look, you can do this.
Yeah. And how do they receive that message? Like, how do they take to it? Do they get inspired from your experience?
Well, for the 45 minutes to an hour that I speak to kids, I've found that they're very entertained and they're very excited. And I get a lot of feedback, like, that's great, I want to do that. What's the program that you entered? How can I learn about this? So there's a lot of good feedback. I can't give you at this moment a direct success story, like I talked to this kid who did this 5 years later or anything, because I'm kind of at the beginning phase of everything. But that really is kind of the goal for me, is to be able to say, hey, this girl heard me when she was in 7th grade, and because she had the idea in her head to do this, this is what she did later.
As an international foreigner, I'm always for people going and traveling. I mean, I come from a country that everybody travels, but from what I understand, that especially in the middle of the US, people don't travel because it's such vast distances. People don't leave, and you get a worldly perspective. You stop being an American or an Israeli or European. You become a global citizen. And this is where the world is going to. I mean, do you agree that this is where we are going to as a race? Yeah. I
mean, we talked the other day in a preliminary conversation. I loved how I asked about your accent and where your background is, and you just said, well, I think of myself as a global citizen, and I love that perspective, because that's really what we all are. And the way the world is going, I think that's where we all need to be, is aware of everything. And having started traveling, I came back to America, and I just realized, it was reinforced, we don't travel. We as Americans, and like you said, middle of America, I think there's a statistic, I need to look it up, but some huge percentage of Americans don't even have passports. And really, we don't need to travel. We have this huge country, and in Europe, our states are their countries. So there's plenty to see in America. I'm not saying like forget about America. I'm just saying as Americans, which I'm American, you know, I just really want to empower people to think outside our borders and think about other things going on in the world. We get so wrapped up in everything that's going on here, and you know, the everyday news and the everyday tasks and this and that. And the world is huge, but it's really small and accessible. And once you have that perspective on other cultures, as you have seen, you're able to relate a lot more. The news means a lot more what's happening in other places. And
for the future, what is in your next like year? Speaking, traveling.
Speaking is the thing. Like that is the next thing. I mean, I define myself. I am a speaker. That's the goal. Like I'm in the process. That's kind of the overall umbrella. So I want to continue to hone that and get that. The next step, my family and I, we are taking 5 weeks and spending the month of December in Japan. My wife is Japanese. I met her while I was teaching English. And we have a 3.5-year-old boy and a 6-month-old daughter. And they're just wonderful. And so we want to give her family time with them, and we want to have time in that gorgeous, beautiful country. I mean, within 5 years, I want it to be, whereas now I'm, you know, DJing and doing magic and juggling shows and then speaking when the opportunity arises. Like in 5 years, I want to be, this is my speaking schedule. And, oh, I'm DJing this event because it's a good thing, or I want to, or there's a birthday party coming up and I'll be doing magic there or something. So
from your experience, for a young person that's seeing this and doesn't know where to start, how do they follow their dreams?
Fairly simple. I came back from Europe and I was like, I got back right before Y2K. And I was like, I'm going to be in Manhattan for the drop of that ball. Like, I'm going to see if the world's going to end, like, I want to see it front row. And I'll never forget one of my friends told me, read The Alchemist. And so I read that on the plane back from New York. And I didn't finish on the plane. Before I got home, I went to a park and finished reading it. And the concept that stuck out is, whatever your heart wants, the universe will conspire in your favor.
Exactly.
And that whole phrase, the universe will conspire in your favor. That's the whole thing, is just decide. And if you can't decide on something or you don't know enough, then just learn. You know, ask, what have people done? Get out there, see what people have done, see what you want to do, see what clicks, what makes your heart happy. When I was in 8th grade, when I was 14, we got a phone call on a Sunday morning. Now, I had this best friend who I met on the first afternoon of kindergarten. And he lived around the corner. We were in the same class, and we grew up together. He had 3 brothers, and my mom babysat for them. So he was like my brother, my best friend. His name is Mark Garvey. And when we got into 7th and 8th grade, he had this part-time job selling newspapers at one of the intersections near school. I don't even know if that job exists anymore with the internet and stuff. But we got this call on a Sunday morning, and there had been a 3-car accident. And one car ran a red light, hit one car, hit another car, and my friend died that morning. And I talk about this in my speech, and I tell people, I'm like, I'm not saying this to make you sad. I'm not saying this to make you feel pity for me. It's just that one interaction really changed my perspective on life that week. My aunt was trying to kind of make me feel better, and she put her hands on my shoulders, right in my eyes, said, Joey, just think about all the things your friend will never have to do. And even at age 14, I knew that that wasn't the right perspective to take. Life isn't about what you have to do, it's about what you get to do. And from then on, I just wanted to get to do as much as I could and learn as much as I could, because my best friend would never get to do anything else. And so every experience that I've had, every pursuit that I've tried to make happen, you know, it's been with him kind of in mind, because he'll never have it, and life is precious. So at age 14, that's when things kind of clicked, and that led to everything.
Oh, that's beautiful. And thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. This has been really, really blissful to talk to you today and really inspiring. And I wish you all the best and luck on your route as a speaker, because we're going to be hearing a lot from you. I know that.
Thank you. Absolutely. I love life. I want everyone else to love life as much as well.
Thank you. And this was Maya from the Worldwide Good News.